This is Story Recapped. Today I'm going to explain a drama, horror, and music film based on a true story called Climax. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A woman hobbles and cries hysterically. As she lies on the cold surface, the bloodstains on her clothes seep into the white snow. She creates a snow angel, but it appears like a demon is possessing her instead. She tries to crawl further, but the coldness and her exhaustion immobilize her. A television screen shows dancers auditioning to be a part of a dance troupe, choreographed by a famous and talented choreographer. The group shows its diversity from different cultures and appearances, but they all share something in common. They're French dancers excited to show America how they dance. On a dance floor, a man furiously waves his arms around to begin a rehearsal. There's no uniformity with their steps as everyone dances differently. The men connect their limbs and behind them is a woman whacking. Then, a woman strips into her underwear while the rest cover her up. She walks to the front where she dances solo. After this, a woman ribbon dances. Everyone returns to their position and strikes their respective poses. The practice finishes and the party begins. Emmanuel, the troupe manager, congratulates the group and gives some minor critiques about their performances. Selva, the choreographer, takes notes and pulls her to the side. David then grabs some straws and drinks the sangria Emmanuel prepared. David offers other dancers a drink, but gets denied until Selva accepts. They separate from the group to kiss. Selva stops the moment from escalating and mingles with other dancers. At the DJ's table, Selva confronts Lou, who isn't in the mood. Lou leaves and approaches Emmanuel, who's explaining to her kid, Tito, that the sangria isn't juice. Lou carries Tito and dances with him. Consecutively, Selva steals Tito from Lou. They dance for a while and end with some hugs. Everyone becomes the life of the party as all of them bust out their moves. David watches a man get his groove on with body isolations. He then steals the sangria of two women and joins Selva and Lou. Lou expresses that she's worried about Tito. David leaves the two, and Lou opens up about how she thinks Tito being with them is inappropriate. Selva disagrees and says that Tito will be fine. Out of nowhere, Lou asks if Selva has had an abortion. Selva just says that she finds comfort in having it as a choice. At Tito's bedroom, Emmanuel shares that she was a dancer before and she wishes Tito to be one as well. She then gives him a goodnight kiss. At the party, David and his friend, Omar, criticize the number of crosses plastered all over the room. David then boasts about how many sensual encounters he's having. He plans to sleep with the two blondes of the group, Psyche and Ivana. They're a couple, and they're currently in a fight because Psyche keeps on ignoring Ivana. David believes that two women shouldn't be together because they need a man to satisfy their desires. The DJ, Daddy, asks Selva if she wants kids. She's indifferent to the idea and pushes away the thought of being tied down to one man. Meanwhile, a woman sits alone by the stairs to sniff some coke. In another area, Dom and Eva gossip about David's playboy tendencies. The news of David being a womanizer has spread throughout the group. The women are wary of him because he most likely has diseases. In contrast, David also has the reputation of being amazing in bed. David asks Omar about Giselle, a woman Omar has been putting the moves on. Giselle and her brother Taylor argue about her relationship with Omar. He doesn't like Omar, but Giselle seems to be fond of him. David confesses to Omar that he wants to have intercourse with Giselle, proposing the idea of a three-way. A different duo talks about how the dance troupe is filled with weird people. One of them says a woman's weirdness won't matter when during intercourse. They laugh as they feel more aroused. One of them shares how badly he wants to have intercourse with Psyche, especially when she does her dance routine. He imagines choking her with his genetically favored male organ until she cries. As the night goes on, Daddy is now talking to Riley, who has a huge crush on David. David then reveals that Riley is a virgin, but hopefully not for long. After putting Tito to bed, Emmanuel smokes with Daddy. She feels anxious about an upcoming performance, but the sangria makes her and everybody else feel at ease. Music is put back on, and the ribbon dancer dances in the middle of everyone. She does some flips and displays her flexibility. Other women follow after her, doing splits, shaking their behinds, and crawling seductively on the floor. As the night progresses and the individual performances wrap up, more people join in to dance simultaneously. After some time, the music dials down. The dancers lay down on the sweat and sangria-soaked floor, and some are still as energetic as ever. There's still some sangria left, which Ivana scoops into her cup. She offers it to Lou, but she refuses. Ivana looks up to see Psyche changing her clothes. She approaches and tells Psyche that she feels weird, but Psyche pushes her away. In the distance is Selva dancing with Eva. Alea asks Selva for drugs. Selva doesn't have any left and points her towards the drug addict, Jennifer. Meanwhile, Riley approaches David and Giselle. He lays his head on David's chest and David happily accepts his advances, but he snaps out of his trance and pushes Riley away. David sets his eyes on Selva, but Psyche peeing on the floor catches his attention. Everyone laughs and shouts out their support. Selva hobbles to Daddy, seeming as if there's something wrong with her. Daddy ignores her and she becomes more agitated. Selva confronts Emmanuel and asks what she did. Emmanuel doesn't know what Selva is talking about, and Selva leaves. Lou follows after her, thinking that she's just had too much to drink. Selva walks to the middle of the dance floor and lays a towel on Psyche's pool of pee. She then hugs David and he asks if she's feeling sick. Selva confronts Emmanuel again and asks what she's put in the sangria. Emmanuel is clueless and everyone starts to accuse her of spiking the sangria. She runs to Daddy and explains that she couldn't have spiked the sangria since she drank some herself. Giselle starts to attack her, but Omar gets in between them. Taylor accuses Omar of lacing the sangria with drugs because he didn't drink. They turn on him and throw him out. Giselle cries by the door and Taylor comforts her. After a while, David alerts Emmanuel about her son, who's awake and drinking the drugged sangria. She pulls Tito into a secluded room where she kisses him and warns him not to touch the circuit breaker. Tito shouts in disagreement and he eventually gets locked inside to protect him from the intoxicated dancers. Meanwhile, Selva passes Psyche and Ivana arguing along a corridor. Ivana leaves Psyche to follow Selva. Outside Lou's room, Ivana starts groping Selva. Lou is vomiting despite not drinking any sangria. Selva asks what's wrong with Lou, and Lou shares that she's pregnant. Lou doesn't know what to do with the baby and who the father is. Dom then arrives at the room and questions Lou on why she didn't drink earlier. She accuses Lou of drugging them, and Lou explains that she's pregnant. Dom doesn't believe Lou, and she knees her abdomen. She kicks Lou, making her cry in pain. In another room, Alea catches Jennifer sniffing powder. Feeling cheated, Alea pushes her, and Jennifer's hair catches on fire. Jennifer screams in pain, and Alea laughs at her. The screams of the girl on fire echo through the corridor, where Lou is looking for Dom. Suddenly, she hears Tito screaming. Lou ignores him and makes her way to the dance floor, where the dancers act like zombies. Taylor sees Giselle dancing with David, so he breaks them apart. Lou finally sees Dom, who just accuses her even more. They bully her and slam her head on the table. With a knife in hand, Lou threatens Dom, but Dom is unfazed. Lou tries to explain herself while getting bombarded by insults and food. Feeling cornered and defeated, Lou punches her abdomen. Her blood-soaked hands fuel the dancer's bloodthirsty desires, and they encourage her to kill herself. Lou slashes her arm and then her face. Even though she's not drugged, Lou isn't herself. While the commotion escalates, David still refuses to be with Riley. He tries to leave with Selva, but she rejects him. David loses control and uses force on Selva. She shouts at his face to make him stop. In a corner, Selva whimpers for a moment. She continues into the kitchen where she falls to the floor and rolls around. She presses her body onto a wall and attacks the curtains. On the adjacent wall is a forest wallpaper, and this makes Selva laugh. She sits on the couch and she puts her hands inside her stockings. Selva breathes in satisfaction and relief, and for a moment she forgets the screaming from the other room. However, seeing her hands stuck scares her and she shouts once again. Selva frees herself and twirls through the corridor. In a bathroom, as Selva washes her hands, she's frightened by her own reflection. She wets her hair and makes her way toward Emmanuel. Emmanuel is crying because she lost the key to the room Tito is in. Selva pushes her out of the way and she starts talking to Tito on the other side of the door. He shouts in fear, and this makes Selva emotional. Selva slowly makes her way back to the dance floor, passing Ivana, who's touching herself. David gets a hold of Selva, but the male dancers suddenly attack him. He's unconscious and Selva kneels beside him. A man approaches Giselle, but she pushes him away. Taylor shouts at his sister and steals her lipstick. Using the lipstick, Taylor draws on David's forehead and pulls Selva away from him. In front is Daddy, who looks more like a mommy with his blonde hair and exposed chest. Selva tries to talk to him, but he just smothers her face with his large hands. Ivana then invites Selva to come with her. All of a sudden, the lights turn red. Emmanuel realizes that Tito touched the circuit breaker and most likely died from electrocution. She rushes towards the room and Tito's screams aren't heard anymore. Selva and Ivana walk past Emmanuel crying and banging desperately on the door. They return to the same corridor and Ivana twitches while dragging an even more terrified Selva. In a room, they see a woman washing blood off herself. Finally, the two are alone and Ivana kisses Selva. She pins her to a wall and Selva can't do anything else but kiss back. Ivana removes her top and licks Selva from neck to navel. Things heat up, but David suddenly interrupts them. Selva shouts at David to leave. Daddy sees David crying and walks past him into a room where Riley is sobbing. David enters the room but gets turned down once again. In a bathroom, David sees the siblings going at it with one another. He interrupts another couple once again, allowing Giselle to escape. Taylor runs after her and stops her before she reaches the dance floor. However, she breaks free. They return to the room of the dancers that's been entirely consumed by the drug. Giselle blames Taylor for kicking Omar out and refuses to be with her brother. The rest of the room is filled with either naked dancers dancing or making love. The drug magnified their already inhibited selves and brought down any other boundary that blocks their primal desires. While Taylor takes advantage of his sister, Giselle's mouth foams up and she starts convulsing. Psyche is seen laughing oddly, unaware that her lover shares the bed with another woman. The room is now filled with the sounds of flesh colliding, bones breaking, and moans and cries. David cries because he's supposed to be the womanizer, but he has no one to play with. Suddenly, a woman approaches him and starts kissing him. However, David screams in pain instead of pleasure. David's head hits the floor and everything turns black. Morning arrives and police enter the building to see most of the dancers unconscious. A woman is still dancing, the thirsty man fulfilled his desires, and Jennifer tends to her burn wound. Tito is dead, along with his mother Emmanuel. By the door is Lou, still screaming, and Omar is buried underneath the snow. The woman has washed the blood off her and Riley is asleep with Daddy. Taylor makes Giselle promise not to tell their parents what happened, and Ivana and Selva are sleeping soundly. Lastly, Psyche sits on her bed. Beside her is a book about LSD. She then drops the drug into her eyes.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.